Personal peace procedure is another really important tool in EFT. It is focused on the process of finding and addressing specific events, which, so it goes perfectly with tell the story, which we've just learned how to do.
Yes.
So
In fact, you can tell the story with each of your personal peace procedure specific events.
That's what we hope, yes. Right. Personal peace procedure has a number of benefits of its own. The first would clearly be the enrollment of the client in their process.
Sure, they get to be involved in it. They make their own list. They put their own intensities, next to the list of all these specific events, and they tap on them with a professional or without. If they're doing it on their own, it would be without, of course. And they get to watch these things collapse and decrease on their own, and they can watch it happen. So they're enrolled in the process. Of course, the professional can help them with it.
Right.
Probably get a little further down the road than if they do it just themselves. But
right.
Works either way.
Right, and I think my favorite feature of the personal peace procedure is the fact that you just get to start checking stuff off of a list. I mean, you have an emotional issue, that's a little bit nebulous. Nobody really knows how to, if you're a list maker like I am, it's not usually possible to just make a list about your emotional issue and get progress. But in this case, you can actually do that.
Yeah,
so
sure.
That can create, hope and excitement and accomplishment in addition to the enrollment.
Yes. It gets the client involved in the process in a way where they, as you said, they have enthusiasm and hope, and that's really important. It isn't just a drag out kind of got to go to the therapist today kind of thing.
And I don't know what kind of results I'm really getting before or after you leave the office. I mean, in this case, you can check stuff off. You can evaluate it when you first make the list, and then as you take care of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them, you can come back and look at the intensities and re-rank everything and actually see the generalization process.
Sure. Yes.
At work, because the the 8s and the 9s and the 10s that you've now taken care of, hopefully they're still staying at a 0. If new aspects come back, you can always address those. But the other ones that may have been in the 4, 5, 6 range may also be down lower.
Sure.
Just because of the common themes and the common characters in each of the stories.
Yes.
So it's really, I think, probably hard for people to understand the generalization effect and really how could that possibly be true. But if you do the personal peace procedure, you can actually watch it happen.
Yeah, you'll watch it. Yeah, there it'll be right there. There's another subtle kind of thing goes on there as well, and that is there's these sort of side effects that go on. I mean, you may not have on your list that you don't get along well with Uncle Charlie, for example. But
or you have a pain in your back that you've just forgotten about because it's always been there.
Right, but then after a while you do this, and then if you're aware, you say, well, what happened to the pain in my back? Well, that happened. I wonder why.
Or gee, Uncle Charlie was pleasant today.
Yeah, I don't seem to have so much with Uncle Charlie,
Right.
and when I drive over bridges, it just doesn't seem to get to me like it used to.
Yeah, that sounds a little bit like.
And I didn't even have it on my list.
Right.
So.
Right, and so that's what we mean by personal peace. Really, is we start to have a more general feeling of peace in the world as the generalization effects starts to work.
Sure, and you're like normalizing your system. You're taking care of these barriers to personal peace, if you will, all these emotional issues that we collect over decades.
Right, and so ultimately in the really advanced levels of EFT, there's ways to navigate through an emotional issue. To take a client who has, let's say, migraine headaches, for example, and find your way directly to the little basket of specific events that's actually contributing to those migraines.
Sure.
Right. So that's a more advanced application that we're going to get to later. It may be easier for somebody with existing training in emotional issues to do that faster. But until you get to that point, the personal peace procedure, it may be a longer way around. It starts, taking the tops off of everything at once. I mean, you do one event at a time, but you choose them, not really in any particular order except for intensity.
Well, you can choose the ones that get to you the most.
Right.
But you don't have to.
Right.
Because if one is really intense, let's get down to those in 3s, 4s, and 5s. Because when you do that, this generalization effect may be taking the edge off of the 8s, 9s, and 10s, you see. And so So this is I would call it a staple, for anybody doing this on their own.
So in the case of the client who comes in with the migraine, if we're not able to target the cause of the migraine right away, there are a lot of other things that could be improving in the process. For example, Uncle Charlie, the pain in the back, somebody's vision, somebody's reaction to traffic, somebody's relationships just in general. I mean, there's relationships at work with the boss, with the coworkers. There's relationships at home with children, with, spouses, significant others. There's, relationships with your parents and your siblings. And, depending on how often you see them, some of these effects can really start showing up in ways that you wouldn't notice unless you were able to keep track of them, which leads me to my next point.
All right, go ahead.
There is yet another list that we can make to try to, start seeing the benefits of EFT as we work with the personal peace procedure. I think the two of them work really well. I call it the inventory of complaints. And in that process, you just make a list of anything that could possibly improve. I mean, somebody's sleep, you look at their cravings or their eating habits, or, really anything that they feel like they could see improvement in.
Yeah, weights, addictions can be in that category.
Right. I mean, somebody who's used to going to, Taco Bell 3 times a week might find that they are only going once after a couple of weeks of work.
Or they don't particularly like the food anymore.
Or maybe they only have 1 cup of coffee and not 4.
Yes.
Or something like that. I mean, things like that can start to get better. Gee, I was craving celery today. What's up with that?
Well, that's not going too far here. Right?
Yeah. Celery with peanut butter.
Yeah.
Gee, so-and-so at work was awfully pleasant today. I've never felt that way before. It's like, was it me or was it them?
Yes.
I mean, it could just be you.
Yes.
So
vistas open up if you use this personal peace procedure properly and fluently. Actually, it's not the kind of thing you just use one time. Make one list and do it once. We have lifetimes full of lists.
Right. Okay? Oh yeah.
We only think of a few for now.
Right.
But wait a while, some others will show up and so on. But if we constantly do this, then we're getting rid of the debris, and the debris goes by the side, and it's like shoveling snow off the road. Now you've got a nice clear pavement to go down.
Yeah.
Everything else over on the side or melted away or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and whatever tools you can use to start paying attention to what's actually changing, the better. So inventory of complaints is one. Your personal peace procedure is another, because you can keep re-ranking those events, whether you're working on them or not, because their intensities might be changing. So, the point is really to, try to find a way to pay attention to what's changing so that you and your client can see the results.
Sure. Again, should be a staple.
Yes.